To measure the rate of transpiration, we can use a bubble pottometer. A bubble pottometer. A bubble pottometer is a setup. We can use it for measuring the rate of water uptake of a cut shoot or a young seedling, or we say a leafy shoot. That means a cut shoot with a lot of or many leaves, which is good for transpiration. When shoots lose water by evaporation, we call transpiration. You can see it absorbs water. For example, like this, it absorbs water from here, okay, lose water, and it absorbs water from the setup. And so here we introduce an air bubble at the very beginning of the experiment. So when the water drawn up, these air bubbles will also move towards to the leafy shoot this side. So in this setup, when we measure the rate of movement of the air bubbles, actually we can calculate the rate of water uptake. Now we can look at this one. Now the setup is like this. So at the beginning, we introduce an air bubbles, and we recorded the distance. For example, this time, okay, we use a lamp to investigate the effect of light intensity of water uptake of the plant. Then we have to put it set up here. For example, like 5 to 10 minutes, allow the plant to adapt to the environment. And then we can check the location of the air bubbles at the beginning of the experiment. Then we set a time, for example, like 30 minutes, and see after 30 minutes, how long does it for the air bubbles to travel, all right? And we find out the distance. And by calculating the distance moved by air bubbles per minute, per unit time, and we can find the rate of, actually it's the rate of water uptake. Okay, and we repeat the experiment, repeat it to the next few few readings to find the average results. But please note that this setup is only used to measure the rate of water uptake instead of rate of transpiration. Now, because when the plant, it uptake water by the plant, absorb water by the plant, they may have some amount of water, a large amount of water lost by transpiration, really out from the plant here. But there are some amount of water may be retained in the plant for different uses. For example, for support, and also for photosynthesis. Okay, they may keep in the plant for different for growth, for different purposes. So these setup can only calculate the rate of water uptake, but it is proportional to the rate of water lost by transpiration, right? And because there are small amount of water is retained in the plant. So that's why we say this is a limitations of this pottometer. So here is with the spelling mistake, should be pottometer. Can only measure the rate of water uptake. Please note, but not the rate of water loss by transpiration. Okay, so if we assume the rate of transpiration is the same as water absorption, we neglected this amount of water for retention, then we can do such a direct measurement. But actually this is only we can only see the rate of water uptake is proportional to the rate of transpiration. So we say this is only give you a relative rate, okay, but not an absolute actual rate of transpiration. So when we carry out this experiment or investigation, please note there are some precautions. So for example, when you fix these apparatus together, you have to fix it underwater to prevent water and air leakage. And so when we cut this chute, please note that we have to cut the chute underwater. For example, this is a chute, cut it underwater. If not, if you do not cut it underwater, what will happen? When you cut the chute, you may introduce air bubble and it may block the xylem of the stem. And so the water cannot be absorbed and pass to the xylem easily. So that's why we have to cut it on the chute underwater to prevent air blocking the xylem, and that will affect the water absorption. So, and when we try to choose a plant, a leafy shoot for the experiment, we better choose some plant that have healthy and already turgid. Or otherwise, the water absorbed is all used for the support of the plant instead of water loss, and you cannot find the result as obvious. All right. So this is the use of how we use the bubble potentiometer to measure the rate of water uptake.